Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. I am so glad you're here. You are listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I am Kat Hobson, your host. I am so pleased to be able to bring this show to you tonight because things work out always the way they're supposed to. I've had moments when I thought people that said that were insane. This is not one of them. I had scheduled my guest for tonight, and there was a miscue in what I had down. It was my error. And so Tom is joining us tonight. And if you want to talk about providence, divine intervention, the way things are supposed to be, any cliche that suits your fancy applies to this right now. Because in the past, week, the United States has taken down not 1, not 2, not 3. As far as we know, only 4 objects that were in our skies. We were told what the first was and where it originated. they have had eyes on before taking down the other 3. And they're only being described as metallic, shaped like a tin can, smaller than the balloon. And I'm going to just toss out there, which came from the warped mind of my great friend Rick McCollum, that if you turn a tin can on the side, it looks kind of like a Tic Tac. So there's that. And the guy who has deigned to join me tonight, and he knows I'm doing this, is a friend. He's the author of 3 volumes of a great series called They Are Here. And volume 1 is the East Coast. Volume 2 is Central U.S. Volume 3 is the West Coast. And he has documented, and I've got the map to prove it, the number of sightings, the shape of the craft of the sightings, oh my goodness, we're going to let him get into some of the other information that goes with that, but the actual sheer volume of experiences that he's documented are amazing, and he is the reason that I am into ufology to the extent that I am. His work fascinated me. I knew what I had seen. I knew what others had told me they saw. I had no idea it was to the global level until really Tom and I sat down and started talking. And we've done that a lot. We have broken bread together. He is a genius. He has an engineering mind. He's so logical that sometimes I know I drive him insane. And of course, I'm talking about the brilliant Tom Conwell, author, researcher, and now experiencer, as he has shared recently. And Tom, I can't tell you how glad I am that you're here. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for inviting me on. This is going to be an awful lot of fun.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Because we have current events. We don't often have current events.
And we can assign all of what we knew from the past to the current events that are happening today, and maybe draw some either conclusions or perhaps make up some scenarios for the future.
Well, I think that it would not be difficult, given your background, to do all of that. I mean, you've been researching and documenting these for years. I have done paranormal experience for going into my 9th year now. And we have been talking for most of that time. So I think that's pretty nifty.
Yeah. We've had quite a few chats, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah.
And they're never boring. So, you're...
I hope not.
No, they're never boring. And, I really think that we get along so well because whereas I am curious, interested in almost everything, I get sometimes really excited about your topic. I've met a lot of really powerful researchers through my education by an interaction with you. So I'm very fortunate that that's happened too. People really admire what you do. You have that rare gift of being able to sift through what to a lot of people would be tedious. But it's really not when you think about what you're looking at, right? You're looking at UFOs.
It's really mind-numbing when you're looking at the numbers, but when you come across something that is either a collection where you didn't expect to see them, or a link to something that was not heretofore been considered as related, then you get excited, and that's where I am right now. I'm really excited about this.
Are you all googly about these crafts? I know you're not, because you said until you understand or know what they are, that right now they're simply unidentified flying objects.
That's it. Yep. Nobody really knows. They aren't telling us. And if they did know, I would not be surprised if they would never tell us.
Well, unfortunately for them and their secret society mindset, there are people seeing these.
Yeah.
And, with the, starting with the balloon, which was just the most bizarre scenario ever witnessed, I think. That was something that they tracked. They said they saw it when it was leaving China, and they just nobody expected it to go all the way across the country and be taken down, in the Atlantic after it had already flown all the way across the country. But it was a balloon. So nobody was really, the mindset was, oh, it's a balloon, But what has been being seen this week with consistency are being described as metallic objects. And we have one that was able to evade radar. So that puts it a little in a different scenario, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, it's possible that one is a little different, and the first two are perhaps just balloons. That's the one thing that bothers me the most about what they're describing. They're saying F-16 brought this down, and F-22 brought that one down. Well, maybe, but when we met up with those craft over the Pacific and over the Atlantic in 2004 and 2000, what was it, 14 or 15?
I thought it was 13, but don't go by me.
13. Well, whatever. Whenever that occurred, these craft would play with us. They'd sort of allow us to track them, and then they'd take off at 20,000 miles an hour out into the blue, and we didn't have a chance with them.
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden, we have the ability to shoot them down when they have the ability to fly circles around us. That doesn't make sense.
That does not make sense.
No, something is way off there. So either, number one, we have a weapon that they haven't told us about, or number two, they're allowing themselves to be shot down as part of some sort of either an exercise or a prelude to something.
And they're actually, we're being told that they're unmanned craft.
Yeah.
Which, they would have had to have gotten to what they're saying they haven't in order to ascertain that for sure.
Yes. Yep.
So that's another thing. And, it's really interesting. I had a guest on. I don't know if you heard the show with Preston Dennett and Dolly Sofrin, but she said that in her abduction experience, well, it's not really her interaction experience, that she was asked what she wanted to do, and she told them she wanted to learn to pilot a craft. And so they taught her. And she's the second person I know who says that they have piloted craft. One was with, extreme supervision. They gave her the joystick and she, interacted with it because it was an interaction thing. It's not you take control. But Dolly said that our magnetic field is wonky right now. So if we see anything, it's ours. And I read and shared online that our magnetic core actually is being affected right this moment because our core is in a reversal period, which I found that on a scientific feed. It just came up. I found that very odd that I got that, and I copied it and sent it to her and said, "Is this what you meant?" So, there's the possibility that this is Chinese in nature, by creation, and that there is really nothing happening, or maybe something is wonky with a field being utilized that's preventing them from defending themselves. I mean, who knows?
Could
right?
be. Yeah, sure. That's entirely possible. If they are utilizing the Earth's magnetic field to create speed, to go hidden, all those things, then when they're flying around, they would be 100% vulnerable.
Yes.
But I'm not so sure that that's all that's at play. I believe a part of what they do is to jump into or utilize other dimensions to either go great distances or to travel rapidly. If that's the case, then they should be able to jump into another dimension and disappear right in front of our eyes. So I'm not sure what exactly is happening. And I'm not sure that getting into another dimension would have anything whatsoever to do with the Earth's magnetic field. There might be another process there that they can do. I really don't know. Yeah.
Oh, we have a question in chat, but we only have 2 minutes till break, so we'll see if we can answer it, and if not, we'll finish. But Victoria says, do you think shooting them down is the correct action to take? And in parentheses, she says that's so John Wayne. And she said, do you think the selected information is being released in order to control the masses through fear? There's a lot that needs to be controlled right now.
Yeah. Well, what was the first part of that? Control the masses. What was the first part?
The first part is, do you think shooting them down is the correct action to take?
Okay, right. Okay. If they are extraterrestrial, I think that shooting them down would probably be a mistake. But then again, hey, I don't know. I've never sat down with them. If they're just popping around up in our skies and just flying in straight lines, and we can see them shoot them down with a missile, then they're offering themselves up to be shot down.
Yes, because it's never happened.
Right. So that's possible. Let's see, what was the other part of that?
Well, the other part is, do you think that selected information is being released in order to control the masses through fear?
Maybe. I really don't know what is in process yet. It's still in the very, very beginning of this. If this goes on for weeks, and all of a sudden there's meetings and fireside chats and stuff like that, then I'd be concerned. But right now, it's still way early in the meeting, in the beginning of this, and I'm not so sure that I would jump to conclusions yet.
You know, I had, I don't remember who I heard speaking relevant to this, but they were asked, you know, has the president phoned, you know, the Chinese leader? Have, you know, what is going on? What do you think should be going on? And the person being interviewed said that, you know, you don't need to be calling the Chinese leader. We need to be speaking to the American public because we have a history of, you know, UFO interaction here. And it, you know, the people are going to be fearful. So, you know, it should be addressed as to, you know, we think this is, you know, this is obviously terrestrial in nature, or, yeah, because all last night, and I watched on almost every network I was flipping around, and they weren't even calling it a craft, really. You know, the things that they were taking down, they were calling them objects. Well, is it an unidentified object? Because, you know, what are we talking here? And,
Sure.
Oh my goodness, we have to take a break. We'll be right back. Y'all come back too, because Tom has got some answers. He loves when I get him questions. Not really, but we'll be right back.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the World Wide Web of Weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And I appreciate so much y'all listening. There's a lot of stuff happening here lately. And my guest is just the guy to address it because he is a ufologist who does great forensic pattern research. He's written literally 3 volumes just on craft witnessed in the United States skies. He's also written a book, Going Interstellar, Problems First, because there are some. And by the way, I love that book. And then he's also written about UFOs and earthquakes. Not what you think. I didn't get that entirely right, but that's the gist of it. Tom, what is the correct title of that?
Earthquakes and UFOs. UFOs and earthquakes. The link is not what you think.
Yes. Thank you. I knew I had that a little bit twisted, but also a great book. But, we're watching stuff in the sky. You and I always watch stuff in the skies. That's just what we do. But, it's interesting that now everyone is. And, I'm in Gulf Shores right now, which is right beside NAS Pensacola. And there's always something up, and I would venture to say right now that my heroes are sitting on go, as it were. But, there's always something newly developed being tested here, there, and everywhere. But an American craft would not go into Canadian airspace because...
Not unless they were asked to.
Yes, not unless they were invited. So it's pretty unthinkable that any other nation would too. And yet it's happened. We know of at least once for sure that it happened. It's just so odd to be violating other airspace. But we have another question in chat, and I don't know the answer to this. I haven't looked. You might have heard, but Victoria says that she wonders if there's been an increase in the number of crop circles in the past few weeks. I would have to Google that, and I will. But
I would say no. The greatest majority of crop circles occurs between April and October, because that's when grass is growing.
Yes.
And that's when plants are growing. Right now, there's almost nothing growing in the northern hemisphere. So if there's an increase in crop circles, it would be occurring in the southern hemisphere, and we almost never hear about that.
That's true. You know what? I haven't heard anything about that at all. And, my favorite crop circle researcher is out of commission. So, she said an increase in snow circles. So, I haven't heard about that either.
Nope, I haven't. The crop circle routine, it happens predominantly in Great Britain, and I think that's because of the ley lines and the magnetic anomalies up in that direction.
Again, with the magnetic.
Yeah. Every so often you find them somewhere else, but the greatest majority are up in Great Britain.
That's they also have them in Europe, because Robert, there's a young man named Robert who is there, who knows when they're coming, and has demonstrably proven that. I find that fascinating.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, how do you know? It's like, I don't know. So,
well, I've interviewed enough people who actually say that they talk to their extraterrestrial abductors, and he may have some link in that regard, provided that's where he's getting his information from.
Well, it's definitely from the people doing them. His information is coming as just almost an intuitive thing, from what I understand. He's sitting, and Nancy Talbot is who introduced me to this concept, and she was over there, and I believe it's the Netherlands, and someone had told her, and so she was interviewing him, and he was like, well, they're coming now, do you want to go? And hopped on his bike and showed them where it was. So that was different.
It's almost like someone who feels the presence of ghosts before they show up. That's what it
very
sounds
similar.
like, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's like an energy shift.
Yes.
Have you talked to people that do that? I mean, you don't know when they're going to show up, do you?
They meaning, are we talking about ghosts or are we talking about UFOs?
Both.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know anybody who's ever come up with that kind of a recipe. No.
There we go. It would be a handy recipe to have.
Yes.
It would save me time and hotel bills if I knew when they were going to show up, either or. But I would know when to pack which equipment for my investigations.
Yeah, CE5.
I do that.
Which is, the meeting of a group to call in UFOs. I don't know if that works. I've never done it.
I have done it, but I get them over at my house often, so it's hard to say. I guess I could do it here. Go out to the beach and do it. I've just never done it down here because I would not trust what I saw given my proximity to a naval air station.
Absolutely.
Because I do know that they have equipment that we don't know about. And I might mistake it. And then I'd look like a goober. I hate looking like a goober.
I know the feeling.
Well, you research everything, and quite honestly, you think everything through. When we were talking pre-show, and you were like, well, it's really, we don't know what it is. So we can't say it's a UFO. Well, we can't say it's extraterrestrial. We can't say it's terrestrial. We just don't know at this point. And that's an absolute statement.
Yep.
But we can't speculate.
If you listen to Ancient Aliens, they state that if it's anything anomalous, it must be extraterrestrial. Well, I don't go that far. I probably would say that if I've thought everything through, if I've made a list of all the things it could be and all the things it couldn't be, and checked off all the boxes, and there's still one box left open, then maybe I can go to, well, okay, it was from outer space, but how is anyone to know, really?
Well, we've been told that things were. We've been told that things weren't. We've been told that, there are interactions you just don't know what to think. And you and I have both been exposed to people who have made a living, a good living, telling people that there are aliens. We've also listened and learned from people who swear that there's no possible way. And it's quite a conundrum when you step back, because you kind of have to go to, well, who seems more credible? Who has a better background? Who has better information that's logical? And
you know, Kat, there's a huge difference between saying, I know that there's extraterrestrials here, and that thing I see in the sky is extraterrestrial.
True.
Big difference between the two.
There is.
And a lot of people want to assign the first thing that they see that they can't explain well to the extraterrestrial. It's not really fair, because most of the time they're wrong.
Yes. But they may have other reasons. People may have other reasons than seeing craft for being convinced that there are extraterrestrial presences here.
Absolutely.
That's a whole new kettle of fish.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's, if I'm not mistaken, the first time that you saw a craft, you were not anticipating that.
No. Nope.
And it just
I was half asleep watching the TV, and my wife called me on our house intercom, and she yelled at me to run outside and look up. I wasn't the one that saw it. So.
And you know that, I forgot that, but yes. And what was her reaction? What did she think of that?
You know, I don't think she said a lot to me. I think she was really pondering what she saw. And she also thinks very logically, and that she's not going to jump to extraterrestrial. But I think that she thought it through, and she may indeed still be thinking about it.
I could understand that.
Mm-hmm.
The first time that I saw what I absolutely knew could only be that was mind-blowing. And, you know, because it was something, it wasn't a meteorite, because it was still fairly daylight, and it came up from the horizon up and stopped, and just it stopped above us.
Yeah, that's not a meteor.
Well, thank God that someone else with us had seen it as well, because when I said, do you think I was on a sky tour in Sedona, and I asked the astrologer who was guiding us, I said, do you think you could put your telescope right there? Because I just saw something come up from the horizon and stop there, and it's just kind of wiggling, like it was dancing. And he's like, well, that's a star. I said, nope, it's not. Can we look at it? And he was very busy belittling me when the man behind me said, she's right, I saw it too. And it came up from the horizon and came to a dead stop right there. Let's put the telescope there. And the guy wouldn't do it. A guy on a night tour, guiding a night sky tour in Sedona, would not put his telescope on an anomalous thing. So.
Well, let's look at it from his viewpoint. If he did see something he couldn't explain, then all of a sudden he's not very much of an expert.
Well, but you know what? What we saw was the reason for his job. If you think about it. So, next time I go, I'm going with Melinda. If I go to Sedona, I am taking one of Melinda's sky tours because if there's something there, she will not hesitate to see it. She is an experiencer.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, she's something else.
She is something else. Melinda Leslie is brilliant.
Yeah. Yep.
And I like her. So,
if she ever gets to Savannah, let me know because I'll drive down. Yeah, she's based out of San Francisco, I believe.
Sedona. She lives in Sedona.
What?
Melinda Leslie?
Melinda?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought she lived in Frisco.
I don't think so. She may. I may miss she may have moved. But because her sky tours are in Sedona. There's really no telling.
I thought most of her sky tours were north of Phoenix, up in the hills there.
The Superstitious Mountains. Superstition Mountains. I was right there in Phoenix, and I did not get to go out to the mountains because it's the one time in all of my travels I had not rented a car, and I had friends that lived there who took me to lunch and stuff. But
oh boy,
I did not get to go out there.
I've never seen so many stars in my life.
See, I've never seen the Milky Way. I've never been to where there was enough darkness to see it.
Oh, wow.
Right? The one girl that would love to see that, right? Tragic.
Wow.
It'll happen.
You can take a 5-minute drive from here and get yourself out in the country and just look south, and there it is.
Yeah. I'm going to get there. It is something that matters to me a whole lot. And, in today's day and time, I was not able to just go out alone in the desert when I was in Vegas or, Indian Wells. So I'll get there. Sometimes I think I can see it here out over the water. But sometimes I think I may just be wanting to. But we have to take our second break.
Okay.
So we will be right back. Y'all come back too. And yes, my Sedona trip was after the Phoenix Lights. So I love Sedona. But we'll be right back. Y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back. I am so glad that you are joining me here on Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, with my guest, ufologist, author, researcher of just about everything, paranormal, ufology. He is brilliant. And Tom Conway. I am so glad you're here. Conwell. Did I say Conway?
Yeah, but that's okay. I have relatives that do that.
I don't usually mess that one up. I will confuse you sometimes with Tim, because y'all are Tim and Tom, but it's funny. I don't usually do that either. But we have been having the best discussion, and Victoria in chat says that she lived near the superstitions for years and that they are just magical. Have you visited out there?
I went to Phoenix. I was invited out there to speak with Phoenix MUFON on a weekend. This was in June, I believe. God, was it hot. It was so hot I couldn't believe it. But it was 2019, I think. I think that's when I went out there. And I didn't get a chance to see anything that night. There were parties and whatever else, and I got to meet a whole lot of nice people. But when I was out to the UFO conference south of Las Vegas, that's when I saw Melinda. Yeah, Laughlin. That's when I saw Melinda, and she took us up into the mountains with her night vision goggles.
Oh.
And that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
What was the best part of that?
Pardon me?
What was the best part?
Oh, of that. Well,
yes.
First of all, seeing the stars like that, it was just incredible. I can't even put words to what I was seeing. It was just so many. But as I was watching, I had the night vision goggles, and I'm watching some lights move back and forth. And Melinda had some pointers, some laser pointers.
Okay.
And she pointed up at the sky as to where things were, and through the night vision goggles, you can see that very well, and you can see what she was talking about, and it was pretty cool. And then I, for whatever reason, I looked away. I looked over to the left, and I saw another dot in the sky, bright dot in the sky. There were no blinking lights around it, as you would see with an airplane. So it's just a bright dot going across the sky. It stopped in reverse direction. I went, holy crap.
No doubt.
Yeah. So I yelled to Melinda where it was, and everybody turned their head over to where the thing was, and it didn't reverse again. But that was interesting. Way the hell up in the sky, and it was going one direction very fast. It just stopped and the other way, and I could not believe it.
Well, that is just the coolest thing ever. Because satellites don't stop in reverse.
Nope.
Every time I have a friend who is he's like a UFO expert. He's actually a photographer a photograph analyzing expert, and I have sent him pictures of different things that he's like, that's not paranormal, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, it is. I was standing right there. So it always makes for an interesting conversation. Because he's a science guy and I am a experiencer of different things. So it's always fun. But, when it comes to discussing ufology and such, he is great for telling you that, it's the Skylink or stuff, because he knows. He knows what it all looks like, because he is an astronomer by training. And it's so frustrating sometimes, because a lot of times you just have to say, you know what? I cannot argue that, although I don't necessarily think that's right.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that Skylink is unmistakable. I mean, when you see that once, you'll never mistake it again.
Well, the only time I've seen it, it only had 2 links.
That's unusual.
I thought, I was very excited because I was seeing it. I'd never seen it, right? And so I went in and I told David, I said, I just finally saw a Skylink. And it was 2, moving in tandem. They were very, very bright. I mean, they were so bright. And David said, aren't there usually a lot more than that?
Initially, when they're first launched, there's like 10, I think.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, I think they start altering the trajectories of them slightly, and they get varied places in the sky. So maybe they had started this was one of the first launches, and they had started to alter the others.
Well, this was about 6 months ago.
Okay.
And when I Googled it, because I didn't want to reach out to my friend, because I didn't want to look like a goober if I didn't have my facts right. But when I Googled it, it said that they're usually about 10 or more together.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it was like the brightness and how low they were, relatively speaking, was what got my attention. Well, that plus the fact that they were zipping right by me. But, and they were white rectangular shapes. So I just thought, that's what I thought it was Skylink. And then everything I researched said it wasn't.
You could see the shape of it?
Mm-hmm. I could.
The Skylink is a satellite, and you wouldn't be able to see the shape of it unless it were absolutely huge.
Well, it was low.
They're in orbit.
They were low. It would be a low orbit, like airplane kind of, maybe a little above airplane height. But they were, they were sticking together. Like they were right. One was in front and the other one was kind of back a little bit to its left.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like Skylink.
For real?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I guess that was something else. But it was too fast to be a helicopter. Or 2 helicopters. Yeah. It would have been tough for them to maintain that level of formation. And it was really, really fast. I don't know. Well, now I'm speechless, which never happens. So, I guess that maybe I'll go back and check into that. But I did Google because I wanted to see other images just to make sure that I wasn't getting all excited about seeing Skylink and it turned out to be something else. And that's when I found out that there's supposed to be like about 10 or more in them.
Yeah,
So,
and they're in
and Victoria
Earth
said,
orbit.
yeah, that was something else.
Yeah, yeah, I would go with that. They're in orbit, you know.
But
They're
are they a
well up
high
there.
Earth orbit?
Yeah, and they won't be. Um, you would never be able to discern a shape. It would just be a bright dot.
Okay. Well, then I guess usually when I see them around my home, they are red and they come when there's a meteor shower. Because they come over the hill behind my house and they just stop. Every time I see one, it stops. And these did not, so that's why I didn't really go there. Now I feel like a goober for not recognizing that. But I've never seen Starlink. So I was so excited that I finally did, and now it turns out I didn't. So I'm back to zero on the Skylink.
Just Google it and go by the picture in Google. I mean, that's always a good plan.
Well, I kind of did, but I just really was so sure. I hate when I'm positive and I'm wrong. Then I'm positively wrong. Right? But anyway, so I really think that, I know Melinda does those tours and she does really great ones. I know Ben Hansen does those at different events that I've been to, but they sell out like so fast.
I know.
I actually sent a message to someone and said, if you are going to be at this event, then I want to go and do this. So keep that in mind. I cannot get to you before you sell out. And so, perhaps.
Yeah, those are some of the most incredible things you'll ever see.
Well, I just think I think it's so exciting. Oh. Well, I just Googled Starlink images. And that's not really what I saw. Because they look like a train. There's tons of them.
Sure, put a ruler up in the sky and put dots along the ruler, and that's what you see.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. That's not what I saw. Oh well. Now I know. And Victoria said that they're generally 342 miles up. So
yeah, they're up pretty high.
This wasn't that high. It was pretty low. Anyway, that being said, we're about to have a break. And it's a stretch your legs, fill up your beverage cup, enjoy, walking around a little bit. Or not, if that's not what you want. But, Tom, you're coming back, right? You're not going to disown me because I didn't recognize that wasn't Starlink.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. I'm recording the game, so I'm not going to miss anything.
Well, I am sure that my husband is doing that. I am going to be most upset if he's not because, you got an Alabama quarterback playing in this.
Correct. So, at least for a while he was.
Yeah.
Till he was benched.
Well, you know what? You got to always... And I will say that he was very, very gentlemanly in that scenario. Because he didn't get benched because he wasn't good. He got benched because Tua was better. So, but Jalen is a workhorse. He is a man that knows what he wants and can pick up a team and carry it. So hopefully he doesn't have to tonight. hopefully everybody's playing great. But we will be back. Y'all come back too. And you know what? Probably you're going to find something in this news broadcast that we've been talking about. I'm betting there's a possibility. So we'll see y'all on the flip side. Y'all come back.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. An unidentified object has been shot down by U.S. forces over Lake Huron, the third to be shot down in North America since Friday. NPR's Tinbeat Ermias reports that the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee says he is confident they don't pose a risk to national security.
Congressman Jim Himes, who receives early briefings on intelligence and national security matters, says that the object shot down over Lake Huron isn't a significant danger to Americans.
I am very confident that none of these objects represent a threat to the national security of the United States, to its people. I'm confident that they are very unlikely to have the kinds of surveillance capabilities that the Chinese balloon that was shot down had.
Himes says the United States has recovered a lot of it, and that the U.S. will likely learn a lot about Chinese surveillance capabilities as a result. Tinbeat Ermias, NPR News, Washington.
With recovery efforts underway in Turkey and Syria following last week's massive earthquake that killed at least 33,000 and displaced millions across both countries, David Miliband, the International Rescue Committee's president, says unless additional aid is able to reach more displaced Syrians at the blocked Turkey-Syrian border, a secondary crisis could occur for the tens of thousands still waiting for help across the country.
Our teams on the ground are saying, look, the needs are absolutely evident. People haven't got food, they haven't got medicines, they haven't got basic hygiene supplies. The water and sanitation is in ruins. So this is a community for whom the earthquake was one massive hit. But the grave danger they face now almost affects more people.
Speaking there to ABC News this week. Meanwhile, Turkish justice officials are targeting contractors allegedly involved in shoddy and illegal construction after the quake caused thousands of buildings to collapse. Turkey's justice minister said 131 people are being investigated for their part in the construction of buildings that failed to withstand those quakes. Family members of men held in solitary confinement in Texas prisons are worried as a hunger strike that's been going on for weeks continues. Texas Public Radio's Paul Flav has more.
More than 3,000 men are being held in solitary confinement in Texas. Hunger strikers argue, and several studies have shown, the practice can lead to physical and mental health problems. One mother who asked not to be named over concerns of retaliation against her son says he entered solitary more than a year ago.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that he has aged. My son looks completely different. He's very thin. His eyes are sunken in. I guess because they're isolated. He was experiencing a deep, first of all, depression. He would see things that weren't there.
Texas has barred journalists from in-person interviews with inmates who are on or were on hunger strike. I'm Paul Flav in San Antonio.
U.S. futures contracts are trading lower at this hour. This is NPR News. The Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Philadelphia Eagles at today's Super Bowl in Arizona. Both teams are recent Super Bowl champs. The Eagles won in 2018 and the Chiefs in 2020. For the first time, both starting quarterbacks are black. NPR's Mandalita Barco reports the halftime show will be headlined by superstar Rihanna.
3 months after giving birth to her son, Rihanna is set to perform a 13-minute medley of her greatest hits. During a press conference, she talked about how important the Super Bowl gig is to her.
Representing for immigrants, representing for my country, Barbados, representing black women everywhere. That's key for people to see the possibilities. And I'm honored to be doing this.
The Super Bowl halftime show marks Rihanna's return to performing live after nearly 7 years. Mandalit del Barco, NPR News.
The Army is trying to recover from its worst recruiting year in decades. Officials say those recruiting woes are the result of traditional hurdles. Young people don't want to die or get injured, and they don't want to deal with the stress of Army life or put their lives on hold. But recruiting obstacles don't seem to be rooted in concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine or other issues. The Army's head of marketing says young people don't see the Army as relevant in their lives. So the military is now offering new programs, advertising, and enticements, trying to reverse that decline. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News from Washington.
What's happening on NPR podcasts? More neighborhoods,
more identities, and more perspectives.
The more of the world that you hear,
the more you hear the world as it really is. NPR Podcasts. More voices, all ears. Find NPR wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the second hour of Fate Mag Radio, and this is the online voice of Fate Magazine. I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to my fearless leader, Phyllis Gotti, who is recovering nicely from a stroke that occurred. And you know what? I love her. And I have so much appreciate all of your prayers for her good health and her continued recovery. It's a long road, and it's going to be a little longer. And you know what? She is fierce and strong, but she still appreciates all the prayer and the care. So thank y'all. And if you haven't visited fatemag.com recently, you should check it out. There are so many good articles. There are items that are available to you, trading cards. And if you happen to see me at an event, catch up with me. I've got some magazines that I can share, and trading cards and WBHM bracelets, things like that. So just reach out. And I am so fortunate to have my guest tonight because, you know what? He is a ufologist. He is a fantastic forensic researcher looking for patterns. He has done brilliant work in his, They Are Here series of books. There are 3 volumes of that one. Interstellar, Problems First, is great. That's a series of his blogs. And he had someone who thinks a lot of him write his foreword for that. So that was cool. And it's really, really a lot of fun. And his recent book was about the relationship between earthquakes and UFOs. And he found in his conclusion that it's not what we thought. So it's a great book because I always thought that there was a correlation. And it really was not anything like what I thought. I thought maybe they were a causation, but you'll have to read it and find out. We might talk about that. So, Tom, welcome back. And, we never really take a break when we do this. We chat the whole time.
That's endless talking.
Well, we don't get to do this very often, and with COVID, we haven't gotten to see each other. So, yep. We're due. And Victoria Monday said to tell you, great show. She's enjoying it. Oh, I am too. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So where would you like to go now? What do you think would be the next thing for us? Do you want to stay UFOs? Do you want to talk about upcoming projects? Do you want to talk about maybe some further experiences? Did you have further experiences after you were called to the window?
Yes, I did. They're all going to be in my next book. That book is titled The Night Visitants.
Yes.
A ufologist, an experiencer, and the undefinable. So it's going to be a very interesting thing. I didn't know how this was going to turn out. I really didn't. And as it started developing and I started telling my story, I thought, geez, it would be good if we had an experiencer in there, someone who would say what they have seen through all of their abductions and whatever else. And believe me, there's been a lot in her life. And my co-author, Anna Manalo, she got in touch with this girl and heard some of the most incredible stories that she's ever heard in her life.
Oh, wow.
What's interesting about that is that some of these stories, she didn't get the whole story because the girl who told her was a little concerned that it may totally freak her out.
Really?
Yeah, she told me the stories when I interviewed her about her abductions. And that was one of the things that made me say, I think that maybe I shouldn't be doing this either by myself or doing this anymore, because it was terrifying. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, they can be.
So, but anyhow, her name in the book is Shailene, and she tells a whole bunch of the stories of what she has gone through. And it's interspersed with what has been happening to me along the way in terms of dreams, what I thought were real-life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I wasn't sure what they were. I had these things happen to me, and I have a purely logical mind, and
you do.
I say to myself, that can't be real, so maybe it was just a dream, maybe. And then I have another one, and it would be so real that the first thing I would do is check my feet, to see what I was walking through. There were some really incredible things. So this is all coming out in this book, and it will probably be out a month and a half from now.
Well, I can't wait. I am so ready to get that book. Because you messaged me about wanting to review, and I do want to do that. And your co-author reached out to me, so we have connected through social media.
Oh,
and
good. Okay.
She really seems special. She really does. So
Absolutely.
I think that you're a great partnership. And, I was kind of curious because we have a mutual friend that, told me that you were experiencing some things. And I thought, he's so analytical. Is he really? Because to me, I would think that it would have been hard for you to adjust if that were something that was happening on a regular basis. Because you are very...
It happened often enough that, believe me, I was doubting myself.
Mm-hmm. And, I do know you, so it surprised me that this had started happening. Like, did you catch their attention with your writing and research, or did you have any idea what the impetus was for these experiences, that type of thing? What do you think?
Okay. This extends back into one of the earlier dreams that I had. I was still doing research, and I didn't know anything about CE5.
Right.
And thought it was an interesting thing. So what I did was I started doing some research in it. I know a few people who've been to CE5 events, and I had some long talks with them. I should say chats with them on the internet. And they pretty much told me what CE5 was about, and that it was all group think for all intents and purposes. And everybody gets thinking positive thoughts in the right direction, and you can actually call in UFOs. Well, one of the things that was happening to me is that stuff was popping into my mind when I was waking up.
Interesting.
It's the first time. Boom, right in my mind. And some days I'd just go in the back room when it was still dark out and start typing. It didn't happen too often because I knew I really needed my sleep.
Yes.
But and I felt obligated to just write it down. One of the things, I had just awakened, again at 3 a.m. This was happening every morning while I was in the writing phase. And I started thinking about CE5. And the first time I had heard a voice in my head. Now, I never heard voices before. I mean, this is stupid. First of all, who the hell am I to hear a voice in my head? I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy, you know? But this voice said to me, groups not necessary. Ask.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that was all it was. It was very efficient, you know, just a couple of words. And they pretty much told me that I didn't need to go to a group. All I had to do was ask them.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, I'll ask. So I was in the process of writing my first book. And I was about 80% done with it. And during the day, I would go out or maybe I would work in my garden for a little bit and sit down on the porch and stare up at the sky and ask to see a UFO. So nothing happened. I went, okay, I'll keep asking, but all right. Maybe I misunderstood. So I asked every day for a long time, really. And then I was just about finished with my first book, and bingo, there was a UFO and UFOs, plural, in the sky. And that's the one that my wife called my attention to. And I wrote about them in my first book.
Yep. And you know people want to know, because what shape were they?
Okay. They were fireballs.
That's cool.
Balls of fire, literally. It looked like a ball of fire in the sky. They were big enough so that if I held my arm out at length,
mm-hmm.
they were approximately the size, if not a little bit bigger than my thumbnail.
Interesting.
So they're pretty big,
yes.
You know? And I saw two of them. Actually, no, I didn't. My wife saw the first two, and I went running out back, and I looked up, and I just saw these weird things disappear behind the clouds. Eventually, I worked my way out to the front of the house. I grabbed a pair of field glasses on the way out, and I think my wife joined me in the porch area. And then there was another group of two that came through, two more. And I thought, they're so bright in the sky, how come when I glance to the right, how come I can't see them way out in the sky coming toward me? It didn't make sense to me because they were so bright here.
Yes.
So then anyhow, the next grouping came through. It was a single one, just one. and did the same thing in the sky that the others did. Got to a certain point, angled upward approximately 45 degrees, and disappeared out behind some clouds. So I started wondering where they were coming from, because where the heck I should be able to see them. Like I said, they were so bright in the sky. So I started looking to the north, and there were two more there. So I thought, well, all right, maybe I missed where they were coming from, but I'm not going to miss it again. So
Right.
these two came through, did the same thing in the sky, 45-degree angles up, disappear out behind the clouds, and then my eyes immediately went to the north. By the way, this was right along the Hudson River.
Yes.
Okay.
Nothing ever happens there, right?
Yeah. So I was looking north, and I kept looking, and I said to myself, I am not blinking. I don't care what happens. I am not going to blink. I'm going to see where these things are coming from. And as I was looking there, they appeared right in front of my eyes. Boom, 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 turned on, like somebody turned on a light switch.
Oh my gosh, we have to take a break.
Yep. Okay.
Don't lose your train. Y'all,
All right.
we'll be right back. Y'all come back too.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Cat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? You see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watched a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step, after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page, is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics, from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of, a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio with my guest, Tom Conwell. And you know what? I interrupted him And Tom, it was right as the fireballs just popped on, as you described it. What was happening? What came next?
Okay. Well, these unfortunately were the last two that went by us. And these two, along with all the others, did the same thing at the same point in the sky. Once they hit that point, then they angled up at 45 degrees and went up behind a cloud and disappeared.
Do you feel like there was a mothership maybe in that cloud?
I don't know.
I mean, because with that being their, all of them did it.
Yeah. My first thought when I saw this was they were all exactly the same, and they could have been I just drew a blank on the word.
Like a projection or something?
Projection, yes. It could have been a projection in the sky. Because they were all precisely the same.
That's interesting
whether they
in and of itself.
Yeah, I know. As far as I know, we don't have that technology, but we might. Maybe somebody did that, but why they would do that in Troy, New York, of all places, I have no idea. But, I mean, they were visible. There they were. Or maybe they did it because I asked them to.
Yes.
Who knows?
You know, that's a really interesting concept to me. Because, you know, when you and I were talking at the break, I've never asked them to show up. They just, like I said, they come to watch the meteor showers when I'm sitting outside doing it. And they always come from the same direction. And they always stop in roughly the same area. And, you know, they'll sit there like they're enjoying the show with me or something. And a lot of times I'll get cold and tired and go in, you know, and I don't know what they do after that. But, yeah, because I do pay attention to, like, the color of the meteors and stuff as opposed to the craft that I see. But they don't blink. There's no lights. They are kind of a red in color. And they just come over. There's always two. And they come over the hill on either side and they just park. They stop and they just stay there. And to my knowledge, they've never bothered me. That my dog notices them, but she doesn't do anything. I have a dog that likes to lay in a hammock. And, you know, but she doesn't react either. So, to me, it's just an interesting and kind of a communal feeling. Did you feel upset at all? Were you just interested? Were you kind of stunned? How did it make you feel?
I was disappointed that it was over.
Yeah.
But how did it make me feel?
Were you concerned? Were you trepidatious? Were you shocked?
No concern. I was honored.
Yes. That's a great term. Yes, I can see that.
So anyhow, that was the first group of UFOs that I saw.
How many groups have you seen?
3.
Do you feel like they were interacting with you? Were they all repetitious like that, or have you had various behaviors?
Various behaviors, all different, all drastically different.
Really?
The second one was I was at Lake Winnipesaukee my wife was working for a bus tour company. She was doing a trip, and I was standing out on the porch, the area, looking up, and it was kind of interesting. I mean, it was just so beautiful. The sky was just pitch dark. You could see the lights across the lake flickering in the lake as you're looking out. I mean, it was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I wasn't thinking anything. And then, second time in my head, I heard, "Look up." So I looked up, and there was this huge flash across the sky, took up about maybe a third of the sky. It was bright red. And out of this bright red area came this super bright white elongated light that left from the center of this red blast and then took off and disappeared across the sky and over the horizon. And the whole thing that I just described took about a second and a half.
Holy wow.
Yeah. It was just, boom, zip, gone. And it was like, what did I just see?
That's got to give you pause, because with that speed, you would definitely be pondering.
Yeah, I know. And it would happen to be, it was just before I finished volume 2.
Really?
So I wrote about it.
Yeah.
Then the third one was, I was going into work one morning. I had retired, but they called me into work to do fire alarm stuff. And I was driving. I drove across the Hudson River, and there was this bright red light in front of me. What I thought it was, all up and down the Hudson River, as you would drive alongside it, parallel to it, there's these big towers, and the power lines get draped across the river and are picked up by the towers on the other side. And at the top of each of the towers is a bright red light, because this is a landing pattern for Albany, New York. Okay. So as planes came through there, they have to know where the towers are. So that's what I thought I was seeing. And I thought, gee, I don't remember there being a tower there, but maybe they just put one in. And I was driving towards it. I was going 60, and I was about ready to turn left onto an interstate that went parallel to the Hudson River. And I was just about ready to turn left. And I realized this thing, this bright red dot, super bright red dot, charged at the car, came at it in a almost like a sinusoidal way, and turned up and to the right just before it hit the car.
That's not freaky
to myself,
at all.
What the hell was that? And it was just incredible. This was, again, just before I finished my third book, and I wrote about that. But apparently, it was like they rewarded me for asking as I was finishing my books. That's what it seemed like. I mean, whether that was that or not, I don't know. But it was like that.
Well, you know what? You kind of have to trust how your intuition is telling you things when you're having these experiences, because that's really all you can trust at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's something that is so unusual in our grand scheme of things that our processing is a little screwy.
Yeah. I didn't know how to process that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'd have, when I read that, I was just like, I would have flipped out. Simply because of, I think it would be a natural reaction with something coming straight at you at 60 miles an hour. And when you're the 60 miles, and God knows what that was, that just is scary.
Yeah, it came to within a very, very short distance of my windshield.
Yes. I think anybody would have been freaked out, honestly. I don't know. That just seems like playing chicken. Right?
Yeah. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if it was after me, it missed, or what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Well,
boy, that was strange.
Sounds like they were yanking your chain a little bit, playing with you. They might have thought it was playing.
Could be.
I think it's scary. I do not want that experience to anybody who's listening. Thank you. But, I have, we had a mention of Andrea Perrin in the chat saying that, she was told also that no group is needed. And I have, I watched Greer's documentary on CE5 and understand the principles behind it, because basically all you're doing is channeling to them. And
sure.
I have done that as a practice because it's a good meditation anyway, but I really don't notice an increase in what I'm seeing based on whether I did that or not, because there's so many times that I just randomly see them anyway, and we kind of have a schedule every 3 months when the next meteor shower comes, right? But it was interesting to actually see somebody using CE5, because it was not a group meditation. It was simply her doing it to show people. And,
okay.
And that to me was interesting, because I actually thought that it was the group energy that made that work. So I don't know why I thought that. Nothing has ever been said that would indicate that. It was just what I took away from Dr. Greer's video. And you've got the app now where you can get groups together, I guess. But I've just never done it. I just like doing my own thing, because unless I'm talking to you or someone else with an interest in the field, I really don't share that very often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that I would want to be in a group of people. Because all you need is one with a strange thought or something in there. And it would seem that if you're creating a groupthink with good positive feelings, and you have one person who goes off on a tangent because they like their neighbor or something, and I can't imagine that being successful.
I can't either. And
humans being what we are, it in my opinion, it couldn't work. But that's just me.
Well, your point about the different energies, the different motivations, whatever, is a valid one. I can see that being an issue, because if you're not focused, there's no telling who you may be reaching out to. We find that in the paranormal field as we investigate all the time.
Yeah.
If you go seeking positive energy and experiences, as a rule, that's what you're going to get. There are those exceptions, but they're rare. You're kind of getting back what you're putting into it. I feel. And I mean, I have had paranormal investigations that did not go as I anticipated. We all do. But I've never, I still think that it's affected by your energy. And your point that if somebody was not straight up with their intent, there could be problems. Absolutely. And we don't know the capabilities of what we're interacting with to resolve that.
Mm-hmm.
What they would deem appropriate. It's one of those be careful what you ask for things.
It's very true.
Well, what do you feel like, because I know you were investigating this for years, getting the information for your different books, and the meticulous attention to detail that you have. You know, when I brought my map home, when I got my map, and, you know, was showing it to David and, you know, getting it ready to frame and stuff, he was like, well, what are these pins? I was like, well, it depends on the color. They represent a number, you know, a craft style and a number of sightings. And he was like, well, how many? And I just showed him the key, the map key. And he was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And I said, well, the guy put a lot of work into this. And David said, well, I imagine so, yeah. And, you know, that to me, when we first met, when we were talking about that really blew me away. Because you have done a lot of years. There is a lot of you that is in your writings. You know, it's not just experiences. It's not cut and dried numbers. It's not even, you know, the myriad hours. I mean, everything that goes into that is so interesting, and it's all you, and your energy comes through in that. And I've got to think that perhaps they appreciate you. I know I do.
So. Well, yeah, I don't know what they do. I can only hope that someday I'll find out.
I'm pretty sure of that. But we have to take our final break. So
okay.
If you have questions that you know, for Tom, things that you want to have specifics about, this is your moment. Get them in chat. We will be back right after this. Y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back for the final segment here on Fate Mag Radio. I'm so glad that you are here. I hope that you have been enjoying my guest, Tim Conwell, nearly as much as I have. And if you haven't already read his books, you know what? You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at booksellers, I believe. I am very fortunate. I buy them all. I love them. And I cross-reference sometimes between other pieces of research and those, and it's fascinating to do that. We have been discussing Tim's writing. Tim is his son, who is also my friend. We have been discussing Tom's writing and his experiences. And, you know, I'm just fascinated by this new book coming out. I know that it's about a month and a half out, but I was surprised that you were coming forward with some of this type of information. You're really coming out of your shell.
I ended up saying a whole lot of those kinds of things in general postings in Facebook.
Yeah.
And I think once I put everything on one page, so I went back and I researched all the things I had posted and put it in a big list. And I didn't realize how many strange events that I had, whether they were actual events or just plain out dreams. I don't know. But there was enough weird stuff that it became significant. Yes. So when that occurred, then, and I had pretty much met Anna at that point, and she said, well, perhaps I can write about you. And I described that story before. Yes. And that's where we are now. And it's going to get interesting, I think.
Well, I think it is too. And I'm going to just say that I think it's very courageous that you have dealt with these things yourself. I think it is more courageous that you have shared them, because you are really, when we first met, you are not a guy who would do that.
I was kind of buttoned down, wasn't I?
A little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, after we met for breakfast, you were a lot more conversant or looser with it. But it's just really an interesting path that I've enjoyed watching you take. Because I know that you have probably been kind of bemused by some of the experiences that you've had, but I think that your interest is being rewarded with an equal interest and maybe a mutual education type of mindset from both of you, because of the curiosity and the interest that you share, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that could be, Kat. I guess I don't have enough positive thoughts of what I do, and to think that I would be of any interest to any other group of people. I just look at myself as, just generally a database guy and out and out boring. But, when all this stuff started happening, I didn't know what to think.
Yeah, I can see that.
I didn't. I was lost. I had no idea what to think.
Well, it was kind of outside of your comfort zone.
It sure was.
I mean, this was not something that you actually probably anticipated being a thing as much as it became. And then, all of a sudden, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be a little freaky, and it's got to be exciting as well. Most of the most freaky things are pretty exciting. And I do think it's a learning about each other thing, and also a learning about yourself, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I think that what I wrote at the very end of Earthquakes and UFOs, that you also contributed to, I think that event solidified things for me. And I knew something was in process at that point.
Yes. Pretty special, right?
Yeah.
I think so. And when we first met, I was just about, I would say probably 70% straight spiritual paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And because I like facts, your books kind of caught my eye. I thought they were interesting. And I thought you were interesting. You're not just a database guy. You do speak data. That's your language. But you're an experienced, you were a paranormal investigator at the time as well.
Yes, I was. Yep.
And I happen to personally think those things are correlated.
Oh, they absolutely are.
Yes.
Yeah, I would never have thought that when I first started out in the paranormal world. But as once I saw my first ghost and had my first experience, then all of a sudden it's like somebody opened doors, and then all this stuff was going on around me.
Absolutely. Because you had kind of broken the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And, when you start looking for anomalies, they start looking for you too. In my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
That makes sense.
And there you are. In your yard looking at the fireballs. Or, on your deck watching special sky events with special sky people. I don't know. But what do you have going on as far as cons and events coming up? You going to be doing anything soon?
Okay. Well, Tim is going to go to Pennhurst Paracon.
Awesome.
May 19th through 21st. That's at the Pennhurst Asylum in Pennsylvania. And that's apparently a pretty interesting place. Anna is going to be there with my books. Generally, I don't travel overnight to places like that far away.
Yes.
Because I just get too tired, and I don't want to do that to myself. So Pennhurst is in the who knows category. Then Timmy's going to go to Gettysburg Battlefield Bash.
A great event.
That's in July. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The 14th through the 16th, that is. Then there's one that I'm going to go to for at least one of the days is the New Jersey Para-Unity Expo.
Oh,
I'll drive down and drive back. That's
should
a
be
really
fun.
that is a cool event, and they have one heck of a lot of important people there, I guess you might say. There's a lot of people that go to that. All of ghost hunters and all of
Well, that's just about everybody in the paranormal field, isn't it?
Amy's going to be there, and Dave
Schrader.
What's it called? Dave Schrader. I saw him last year there. I met him. It was the first time. And nice guy.
He seems to be excellent.
Yeah. And Tim's also going to go to Sleepy Hollow Paracon September 16th. That's down south of here in Tarrytown, New York. That's closer than Woodbridge is. But
that sounds fun.
Yeah, they're just starting. I think this is their second year, so we'll see, and we'll wait until they get a little bigger, and see what's going on there. So those are the four that he signed up. Yeah, those are the four that he signed up for. Anyhow.
Well, I think that's exciting. It sounds like a good time.
Yeah. He takes all my stuff and sells my books, and he does a really good job of it.
Well, he loves people, and he loves traveling. So those are both good for him. And, I love that Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. And Victoria wants to know if you'll be doing any UFO events in the Southwest. I'm planning on being at Contact in the Desert if I can manage it. I've got my room. I'm just trying to work my logistics. But Contact in the Desert is fun. You would enjoy that at some point.
I'm sure I'd love it. Perhaps after this next book comes out, maybe I'll get an offer to go speak somewhere. It would be an honor to do that, but I just can't push myself to the limit and schlep through a airport and then arrive late and get in a hotel. I'd just be exhausted, and that's a bad choice for me and my health.
Yes. Well, the health comes first.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lady sitting in that house that more than heartily agrees with that.
Yeah. I think she appreciates that I have slowed down and also vowed to stop every day around 11 or 12 o'clock and go in and lay down for an hour. Well, sometimes I sleep, sometimes I don't, but it really does help me.
Well, I think that that's something that everybody, even if they don't do it, wishes that they could.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much better for you. And
it feels good, I tell you that much. I love naps. Oh, my.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a good nap, and I've never met one I didn't like.
Yep.
So, there you go. I'm glad you're taking care of you, too. But we're about out of time. Is there anything you want to leave people with? Is there anything that you'd like them to know about you, or a final thought?
Just buy my book. It will be on sale in approximately a month and a half on Amazon. And it will also, for those of you who like the electronic versions, it will also be available on Kindle at a much lesser price. And I know that appeals to a lot of people. So,
well, I generally get both because I'm never without my Kindle. But often I use my iPad, but it's so handy dandy because I've always
I forgot to
got
ask
something.
you, does iPad have a Kindle option?
It does. And
It does.
yes,
I
I just
didn't know
downloaded it.
that.
Yes, I downloaded it,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's fantastic because it's
All right.
larger. I've gotten to where I need larger, and it works great.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that I'm endorsing Apple or anything, but it's just a fact.
No, I get it. I get that. Okay.
My Kindle is small.
Yeah. We just got a new iPad, so I'll look into that.
You'll love it. It's perfect for that. And you can adjust the size and everything. It's just great. But that being said, thank you so much for joining me here on Fate Magazine Radio. This has been fun.
Thank you for having me, Kat. I always love talking to you, and I always love questions from the listeners. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And for everyone who is listening, thank you so much. Whether you're listening live or in the podcast version on iHeart, Google Play, Diojafan if you are in India, which is their version of iHeart. We're everywhere. And we appreciate you so much more than you even know. We'll see you next week. Same cat time, same cat channel. And on Wednesday night, I have the great and wonderful Jeremy Leonard joining me. So y'all tune in. I will see y'all next time. Thank you. Good night. Oh, you know what? I can't go. I didn't tell people that, you know what? If you don't like the world that you're seeing, fix it. You can manifest change. Right?
Yep.
You can be the friend you'd like to have, be the person that you want to look at and be proud of in the mirror. And, you know, if you feel it, make eye contact, smile. We're coming out of this pandemic, but people are still scared. People are still hurting. We lost so many of our fellow citizens, and people are still reeling a little bit from that if they were touched like that. So be gentle. Be the change you want to see in the world. It's a great thing. And it really does work. So, good night. Thanks again, and be blessed.